Hi everyone, welcome to Learning Impact. In today's lecture, we will discuss social group and types of social group on the basis of size. So let's start. Okay, what is social group? Social group refers to any collection of people who have bought into social relationship. Means that there is any collection of people who have some sort of social relationship or social interaction that is called social group. For a group, we say collection of people, and for social, we say social relationship is necessary. Whenever we add the word social to any terminology in sociology, it means we are referring to the social interaction. So, what is the difference between group and social group? Group is actually the collection of people, but social group means that this collection of people has some social relationship. Then types of social group. Social group classification has been done by various sociologists depend on the factor which has been considered as a criteria for classification. So for example, social group has been classified on the basis of size by George Simmel, which we will discuss in this lecture. Also, there are other classifications. For example, on the basis of structure, it has been classified by Sanderson. On the basis of contact, it has been classified by sociologist C.H. Cooley. On the basis of relation to society, it has been done by sociologist Hassan, and also on the basis of identification by Samner. So there are various types of the classification of social groups. So today we will focus on the classification of social group which has been done by George Simmel, and basis of this classification is size. The types of social group which is on the basis of size, which is according to George Simmel classification, it has two types, smaller group and the larger group. Now, before we go into details of the smaller group and larger group, we have to look into the brief introduction of the George Simmel, that who was he and what was his contribution in sociology. George Simmel was a German sociologist. He focused on the micro level theories, and most of his theories was then propagated and then moved forward by other micro sociologists like George Herbert Mead and Herbert Blumer. He analyzed different social groups, which may include Dyad and Triad, which has 2 members or 3 members. So he has analyzed different social groups and how different number of members they interact in a group. He has analyzed that. His famous works are The Problems of the Philosophy of History, which was written in 1892 and which was focusing that the gap between the internal relation of the immediate experience that cannot be rationalized and the external relation which is constructed by mind that never penetrate to immediacy. Also, his another book, which is The Philosophy of Money, which was written in 1900, it was actually analyzing the money as a structure agent that helps people understand the totality of life. Also, he analyzed the relationship of money to exchange, human personality, the position of women, and the individual freedom, that how money contribute to all these factors. His another work like Metropolis and Mental Life, which was written in 1903, also another like Fundamental Questions of Sociology, which was written in 1917, and at the last Sociology, which is actually the collection of various essays written in 1908. So this was the brief introduction of the George Simmel. Now we have to look into details of the smaller group and larger group which was classified by George Simmel. So let's start. Okay, the classification which has done by the George Simmel was the smaller group and the larger group it has classified, and then within the smaller group there are Dyad and Triad group. Now what does it mean by smaller and larger group? As its name indicates, smaller means it has less number of members. Larger group has more number of members, and Dyad means 2, so it has 2 members, and Triad has 3 members. But how these groups are different from each other, what are the main differences between them, we will discuss it now. Okay, well, the difference between the smaller and the larger group which was proposed by the George Simmel. Smaller group and larger group is different from each other by different aspects. For example, if we take nature, in case of the smaller group, it is considered informal and unpatterned because they do not follow any rules and regulation that is documented. For example, if we take couple, which is, for example, the family, we say in family there is an interaction which is more casual, which is informal, which does not follow any rules and regulation which is officially documented or any formal rules. So that's why it is considered more casual or informal and also unpatterned. But in case of the larger group, it is considered formal and pattern because, for example, in case of the cricket team, if we take example, Then in case of the cricket team, there are members who interact to each other according to some rules and regulation which is written by the which has been passed by the cricket board. Also they have to interact in a formal way because uh, there is something more more impersonal relation. Also, for example, university. In university, you have to interact with your friends in a formal and in pattern way as compared to how you interact with your family. So that's why it is considered that larger group by nature is formal and pattern. Now basis. On the basis of the smaller group basis is that it is based on the informal nature of interaction as we discussed. For example, how you communicate to your parents, it is informal and more casual, or with your siblings, as compared to how you interact while you are a part of the political group, or you are part of the cricket team. So in case of the larger group, the basis of interaction is more formal. Then in case of the smaller group, the interaction is personal also. For example, in family, you have some personal relationship, for example, couple. They have personal relationships, so we can say that smaller group has more privacy. While in case of the larger group, the personal interaction is difficult because there are many members, so there is less privacy. Then examples of the smaller group like family, dyad means two-member group, for example, two friends, they are interacting. Triad group which has three members. Kin group which is based on the kinship. While in case of the larger group, example are race, nationality, state, university, cricket team, political group, or any group which has large number of people. This is considered larger group. Okay, then within this smaller group, as we discussed, there are further classification done by Simmel, which is that dyad and triad social group. Now we have to look at what is the main difference between dyad and triad group. So let's start. Differences between dyad and triad group. In case of dyad and triad, as we discussed, dyad refers to two members. So it is a group of two individuals having social interaction. So any two friends, for example, it may be two friends, it may be, for example, mentor or mentee who interact to each other. So this is the dyad group which has only two members. In case of the triad group, it is a group of three individuals or having the three members who are in social relationship to each other or who have some social interaction. Now, what are the other differences beside the number of members of the dyad and triad group? For example, the other aspects which differentiate dyad and triad group is the intimacy. In case of the dyad group, the privacy intimacy is more intense as compared to the triad, which has relatively less intimacy. For example, as we take example of couple, which has only two members, so their relationship is more private as compared to the triad. For example, there is a family who is couple and one child. So when the parents, they behave differently in front of their child, and this child sometimes they also interpret in the privacy of their parents. So the intimacy is considered relatively less intense in case of the triad group. Then interaction. Dyad group interaction is mostly simple and fragile. Why it is called simple? Because it has only two members, as we discussed, so there are only two perspectives involved, so it is easy for members to understand each other. Why it is called fragile? Because if you introduce a third member into in a dyad group, so this group will break down and the social interaction and the privacy will be disturbed. So that's why it is considered more fragile. Then in case of the triad group, it is considered more stable and more complex and stable interaction. Because there are many members included, so there are various perspectives, so it is considered more complex. And why it is called stable? Because there are various individuals involved, so there is less privacy. That's why it is considered more stable. Then interdependency. In case of dyad group, there are high interdependency. As we discussed, couples, for example, couple, husband, wife, they are more dependent on each other as there is no other person for which they can ask help. So there is no other option. They have to depend on each other. But in case of the triad group, for example, three friends, in case of triad group, there are three friends. So if one friend is busy, you can ask to another person, to another friend for your need. So that's why in case of the triad group, the dependency on one person, it is low. Then in case of the dyad group, the chances of conflict is low, because the understanding is, we can say there is a strong understanding, because there are only two perspectives involved. So there is a better understanding in case of the dyad group, while in case of triad groups there is a high chances of conflict, because in case of triad there are multiple perspectives, multiple members involved who have their own choices and opinions and perspectives. So there is possibility that it leads to the clashes clashes of opinion. Then decision making. In case of the dyad group, the decision making is more quicker, because it is considered there are only two members, so it is easy for to take the decision. While in case of the triad group, you have to convince each and every member of the group to take any decision. So decision in case of the triad group take longer. Then examples of the dyad and triad group, like married couple, also two best friends, and also we can mentor and mentee relation, we can take the example of this. In case of the triad group, is a group of friends or three siblings, or also the project team of three members. So there on any group who has three members and also they have some social interaction is a triad group. So this was all about this George Simmel classification of the social group, which was smaller and larger group, and within the smaller group there is then two types, which is dyad and triad group. I hope this lecture will help you to understand the social group types. So this was the end of our lecture. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your questions in the comment section below, and like, share and subscribe our channel for latest lectures. Thank you.